What's happening, everybody? Excited to be back. If everything's coming through loud and clear, please just let me know in the chat with a yes that you are able to hear me. Let's see if we can. Awesome. Michelle, appreciate you. Can we throw the slides up, please? There we are. Awesome. We can hear you. Steve, what's up, brother? All right. As we go through this, please drop your questions in the chat. If I don't get to them today, I've recorded in the last one, I recorded a video answering every single one of your questions. All right. So drop them in the chat. If I don't get to them today, I will get to them. So I promise you, always here to help. Love helping out. So this is the high margin method. If you missed the last class was about how to get started. So this piggybacks on that. So make sure that if you got the recording, go watch that one. But this is what's changed the game for me, so and I want to share it with you. I'm gonna share with you everything that we do, that's going to provide tremendous margins for your deals. So real quick, Jon Barbera. I was born in Argentina, raised in New York, moved to San Antonio, Texas, built my business there, and now I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So if you're trying to figure out where my accent is from, good luck. Yeah, nobody has been able to pinpoint that. So you'll have a little New Yorker, you have a little Southern. I'm all over the place. This is my beautiful family. I've been with Val for 20 years now, 3 beautiful kids. Been in real estate for over 13 years as an investor. Before that, I did construction. So I've renovated well over 1,000 houses in my life. It was all single family, all that in New York. So I know a lot about, fixing up houses, to the point where I started hating fixing up houses. I'm also a coach and a speaker. I train on all the techniques I teach and everything like that. I love giving back. This is why I do things like this. I love sharing and providing value. At the bottom of every page, you're going to see my Instagram handle. If you DM me on Instagram, I'll always answer your questions. Let's talk about real quick the old way of doing real estate. My old way of doing real estate, how I was doing it. So I was doing a bunch of random marketing. You start in real estate and you do some cold calling, you do direct mail, pay per click, pay per lead, pay per everything. And it's just chaos all over the place. We'll buy from wholesalers. Margins are very tight, especially from wholesalers that are able to shop deals around. You were getting outbid. I mean, it was, and a lot of wholesalers, and please don't take offense if this resonates with you. They're really bad. They're really bad at what they do. So a lot of deals, they don't get them at the best possible prices. There's been a lot of wholesalers that bring me a deal and I'm like, I need to be at this price. They're like, I don't even have it that low. Well, you probably shouldn't have that contract then. Or, you buy off the MLS, you get an agent, these are listings, stuff like that. And depending on where you live, those margins are even tighter, right? And now you're competing with everybody that's got access to the MLS. And you're dealing with agents, which can be very helpful or an extreme nightmare. I have dealt with the latter more often than not. Most agents I've come across have been, well, let's just say the barrier is low to become an agent. So, it's one of those things that's been a massive learning process. Maybe you get some referrals. So we do a lot of deals on referrals, people that bring us deals and stuff like that. But I've also been in the business 13 years. So a lot of people know of me. But before getting some decent referrals, it's not really a scalable business model. And there's tremendous competition with any of these, right? Tremendous competition. Competition going after wholesalers, MLS, everything. Everybody out there nowadays can potentially buy an investment property or claim that they can help a homeowner and all this, which makes it pretty tough for us to stand out in those kind of spaces. And then you buy rentals, right? As soon as you can, you start picking up rentals. Biggest lesson I learned is when you're early on and you want real estate to be your business, your main source of income, do not buy rentals. They don't make money. Most rentals don't make money. Rentals is a way to preserve and build wealth over time, not immediately. Immediately, what you need is consistency and money coming in. The only people I tell to build rentals are the ones that have stable income, stable jobs, something of the sort that's like they don't need the rental to live off of. So you can go acquiring rentals little by little and build your portfolio. 100%. As a real estate investor, oh boy, that was not the play to do. 2020 changed everything for us. Everything, got flipped upside down because we were buying from wholesalers and referrals and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, um, deals started drying up. We were closing. We were doing a lot of flips. We were building some houses. I had a small rental portfolio. That's how I know that's not the best way to go. I was equity rich and cash poor. And 2020, it was just it sped up what was going to happen anyway. And we were being outbid by every deal in the market. We were being outbid by. One deal I'll never forget. We were outbid by 75 grand. And I was like, I was expecting to make 30 on this. Like, what the hell are you doing? What was this buyer doing? I don't know. But I wasn't able to get deals. And we had to go back to marketing because at that time, for a while, for many years, I stopped marketing because it was a nightmare. So we had to go back to marketing. So we started pulling lists all over again. We started doing cold calling, SMS blasts, RVM blasts. I always joke that, we're probably the reason why all the regulations came down, because we were marketing to over 8,000 properties a day, blasting, text blasting, RVM blasting. I mean, we were obnoxious. Looking back at it now, it was ridiculous, but in those moments, it felt like it was an amazing strategy. But, we quickly learned that the overhead that we were having and everything was a nightmare. And it just, all those things weren't enough. We were still closing very small deals. Wholesales were 5 to 10 grand, flips 20, 35, maybe. And when I talk about $35,000 profit, it was around doing maybe a $65,000, $70,000 renovation. So I was risking like double the capital to make half the profit, right? It's very stressful. At first, I understand as a new investor, you're like, shoot, if I can make 20, 30 grand on a deal, I'll be stoked. That'd be amazing. When you're running a business on this, it gets to a point where it's very tedious. When you see what it is to run a flip of that caliber over and over and over, contractors, firing, hiring, managing, materials, everything, 30 grand is just not enough. I promise you that. And any overages you get on that, man, it wipes your profit away very quickly. We had a lot of dry spells because of this. A lot of periods of, we'll have 3-4 deals and then we have nothing for months. And it was that stress of having nothing for months, it eats away at you. It's not a simple numbers thing. It's a mindset thing. Like no sleeping at night. You understand? Like very few sleep hours, like just getting up and just beating your head against the wall of like, what am I missing? What am I not seeing here? You understand? Like all of those things was just so stressful. Marketing wasn't working. It's like we figured it out. We got a deal this way. Oh, well, that's it. That's all we got. It's just one deal. No more deals came out of it. Shift the marketing. Services kept changing, right? So, like I said, we were doing massive email, text blasts, and RVMs. In order to do that, you got to set up systems, right? So when you send this text out, they respond with this. What's the next one? They respond. What's the next one? You got to set these systems and have all these automations and everything triggered because you can't manually handle that many responses. It's very tedious, right? And tremendous overhead. We had VAs. We had people. We had probably about 12 people or so on our team at the time. And we were barely crossing 40 grand a month on a consistent basis, like barely. And our overhead was probably at that time like 45 grand. So it was like I said, it was a very stressful situation. And here's what I realized. If you can't maximize what you already have, what is the point of doing more of the same thing? So I want to ask you this, and I want to know like what you think about this, because there are so many people that are struggling with getting deal flow, and they're like, I just got to do more marketing. I just got to spend more money. I got to hire more people. It's like, but if the thing you're already doing isn't working, why do more of it? It's a simple question, but we all do it. Because in our heads, the only thing that makes sense is, well, you double down. Duh. No, not duh. I doubled down many, many times. It did not make my business any more profitable or easier to run. Instead, it caused a lot more stress. It added more complexity to my business. So here's my epiphany. Specialize in one thing. Prioritize high margin deals. This is the formula that I realized simple, but it takes a tremendous amount of discipline to execute on this. To not get sidetracked with every little thing that you hear at a networking event. Oh, dude, I'm killing in tax delinquent. You got to do that. And you're like, all right, well, let's start doing tax delinquents. Let's start doing this thing because so-and-so said it. First of all, one thing I learned is when people say I'm killing it, usually it just means they just started doing it and they're probably speaking to a few people. Rarely does it mean that they're actually closing deals. Rarely. All right. But specialize in one thing and prioritize high margin deals. What does that mean? Is anything for us under 20 grand, we don't touch for a wholesale. Anything under 70, 80 grand for a flip, we don't touch. And for us to do an $80,000 flip, it better be a $20,000 rehab. That's prioritizing. And I'm going to show you why we are able to do this. The prime wholesaling method was born, which is ultimately an acquisition machine. I know it's wholesaling and it's an option, but ultimately the biggest way that you make money as a wholesaler is by generating deals, right? So you're building the acquisition machine. What you do once you have that property is up to you. You can wholesale it, flip it, keep it as a rental. It's your choice. That's the beauty in this. You get to keep the best properties that you want, and then you get to make money on the ones that you don't want, and pass them off to other investors that rather take those types of deals on. So that's the whole point of this method. And it's a high margin method. All right. Everything I teach, everything I talk about is not about volume. So from managing flips ourselves to now handling projects remotely with a small team, that's what high margin method can do for you. I have a very small team right now. We're closing 6-figure deals consistently. Before, we would maybe get one a year. Right now, it's every few months we're closing at least one of those. And I have a student that's on his second month this year, so far this year, closing a 6-figure deal. It's not volume, all right? We focus on fewer but more profitable deals. We've reduced our team size to 3 people with about $2,200 a month in marketing and systems and everything that we need. It's about $2,200 a month. So from 45 grand, went down a lot. That came out later. So for those of you that don't have it, that weren't here last time, if you scan this is a free PDF that I have for you guys. And it's all 9 pillars, because here I'm only going to cover the 2 for the high margin method, but you'll get all 9 pillars so you can set your business up accordingly. So scan it. If for whatever reason, again, on IG, you can, in Instagram, you can hit me up and I can send it to you. Either way, it's all free. So we're going to start with pillar number 6, which is motivation-driven deals. And why this matters is because a lot of people don't understand how to speak to sellers. So most prospects do not want to sell. I know, this is mind-blowing. When you do any type of marketing, most people are not, even if they're hurting, they don't want to sell. Even people in foreclosures, they want to keep their property, right? So you got to go in there understanding that most prospects just don't want to sell. And the house doesn't matter. What do I mean by this? I see these people on social media all the time talking about, they're doing cold calling. And they're like, well, yeah, how's your house? And how jacked up is your kitchen? And how messed up is this? And how ugly is that thing? Right? I don't care. I really don't care what the house is. Because what I'm digging into is the motivation of the owner. Because that's where the margins are made. So here's the framework to finding the deal motivation roadmap. First, you got to nail the call. Now, I start everybody off with cold calling just because I've been in this for a long time, and the majority of people suck on the phone very, very badly. They're very bad. So even if I have people that are like, oh, direct mail works great. Not if you're not good on the phone. If you get a direct mail call and the seller maybe, is considering whatever, and you don't know how to get their motivation out, then it's wasted. It's a completely pointless situation. It means nothing. And then I get these people that they're like, well, I've tried direct mail, but, it sucks and it's very expensive. I'm like, it sucks. Did sellers ever call you? Yeah, but nobody wanted to sell. Interesting. So you just suck on the phone. That's all you're telling me. Because if somebody calls, there's motivation. There's some motivation. Now it's up to you. Can you pull that motivation out? All right. You want to crush the appointment. Going to an appointment. This is why I don't teach virtual. An appointment is where we close most of our deals. Face to face, I can connect with sellers at a much, much deeper level. And remember, why do I want to connect at a deeper level? Because I'm not looking for $5,000 deals. What I want to close is $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 wholesales, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 flips. All right. So face to face, the chances of you doing this go up astronomically. And then we lock it up. And locking it up is a process in and of itself. A lot of people just, here's my 70% minus repair offer. No, that's not how we lock up deals. So let me break this down further. So nailing down the call, the first thing you do on a call is connect with the seller. What do I mean by connecting with the seller? For any of you that have been on the phone with sellers and you're talking to them and you're asking them for motivating questions and they're like, yes, no, I don't know. What do you care? What's your offer? Just give me your offer, right? The only reason you're getting that is because they don't know, like, or trust you. So they got their guard up. And everybody starts with this. As soon as they speak to somebody and they're like, yeah, maybe I've considered selling. Great. Tell me how jacked up your house is. Let me know why you're so distressed. Give me all the ammunition I'm going to need to lowball the hell out of you. That's how they're understanding it. Instead, what we do is try to connect with the person. We connect with them. We try to find things that we can relate with. This is why I like being local too. Any major weather things happen. Hey, how'd you fare in that storm that we had, that snow thing, this thing over here? All of a sudden, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, they're local. In San Antonio, we're getting into rodeo week, right? Where they have the rodeo, they have all these things. Bring that up. Do you go check out the rodeo when you're in town? All questions like that. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, okay, you're local in San Antonio. Anything that gets you to connect with them. What does connection look like is when I ask a question and they actually give me a real answer and not a short answer, not just trying to get me to move on. They're having fun in the conversation that we're having. They're liking speaking to me and having this conversation with me. When they do that, everything else gets so much easier. I promise you that. The next thing, once we connect, only if you connect, you find motivation. Now I want to know, what is their need to sell, not want to sell? Why do they need to sell? Because why not list it with an agent? And I'll ask every seller that question. Why not list it with an agent? I want them to tell me why not. When they tell me why they won't list with an agent, okay, awesome. That goes off the table. They don't even consider it again. And they're the ones taking it off the table. But I want to address that. When I set an appointment, I know that I'm coming back with a contract because I vetted this lead appropriately. So I'm asking motivating questions. Where's the pain? Jon, they're in foreclosure. That's not pain. Any of you that done foreclosures, you know what I'm talking about. Being in foreclosure is not enough. What's the pain? What's this going to do for you? What's this going to do to you? How's it going to hurt? We got to address the motivation. If you don't create deep and big enough motivation, you're going to have a seller that's in foreclosure and wants an astronomical number and is willing to let the house go if they don't get that number. All that tells me is that you did not connect with them very well and you don't understand their true motivation. We get properties for what they owe. They're like, I just want to be done with this. By the time we're done with the conversation, they're like, I just want to be done with this house. I want to be done with the headaches. Like I don't need anything from it. I'm already out. Awesome. Like those, we get a lot of those conversations. Once you do these two things, then you set the appointment. And the appointment is to close. The appointment is not to see if this works, because you should have already determined that. This is why there's so many people that they go to a ton of appointments and come back with no contracts, or even worse, get a ton of contracts and close 50% or less of them. I don't understand when that became acceptable in real estate. I really don't. I get these virtual wholesalers and all these people on YouTube or whatever, they're pushing that nonsense. But I contract 5 houses, I close 5 houses because I don't play these games with sellers. They need me, they need my help. I'm not going to promise them my help and then leave them hanging. That's terrible. That's terrible. I don't condone those things and I don't do them, right? So when we set an appointment, it's to close. The only time I've ever had to back out of a contract is because the seller lied. They had all these liens and all these things. They're like, well, I didn't think you had to pay back the IRS lien. It's like, yeah, IRS always gets paid, right? And then the deal got killed. But if they're still willing to work with me, I'll still help them out. I may not make any money, but I'm still there to help them. So the appointment is to close. Now, next thing is you want to crush the appointment. How do we crush the appointment? You follow the same process of nailing the call. You reconnect with them. So whatever the connection questions were, try to build on those a little bit, because it's very funny when you set an appointment with somebody that you had a great conversation, you get to the house and all of a sudden they're treating you like you're there to rob them, right? And you're like, what the heck happened? I thought we were doing great. Yeah, but they forgot about it. They develop amnesia very quickly. So you reconnect, you reestablish motivation, bring everything up again. Get the feelings going again, because you don't get high margin deals by being cold and calculated. High margin deals get done through emotional decisions. All right. Somebody needs to sell. It's not a want. So I want to make sure we know that in there. Get a ton of pictures. Why we get a ton of pictures? On a 1,000 square foot house, at least 75 pictures of everything. Because if I decide to wholesale and not keep this house, I want to make dispo as fast as possible for me. And that's how I do it. I can send a link of the pictures, the address, and my asking price to my buyers. That's all I got to do. And I send it to the buyers that are qualified to buy this house. And they tell me within 20 minutes if they are in or not. And when they're in, I can take that to the bank, because I know as soon as they walk the property, it's going to be the same thing I showed them on the picture. So I close every single time. All right. And then make the motivation emotional, right? Because this is how you're going to be able to close on the offer. And this is how we lock it up. First and foremost, have contracts with you. I don't know if it's happened to you guys, but I get a lot of students that I'm like, they tell me, oh, yeah, it went great. It was amazing. Cool appointment. And yeah, and they want to sell. And I'm like, where's the contract? Oh, I didn't have any with me. What are we doing here? Why did you even go? You understand? Like, I, at all times, in my truck and in my wife's car, I have sets of contracts at all times. Because it's happened to me. I've been with my wife and my kids out, and I get a call from a seller. They're in the same side of town. I go see them, and I can lock it up in that moment. I promise you, I don't go to appointments without getting contracts. That is my mindset. That is how I operate. That's what I look at. You understand? So you got to have those contracts with you. So keep at least 5 sets. Why not just 1 set of contract? Because you use it and then you forget to replenish it. But 5 sets, it gives you plenty of chances to print out more contracts. All right. The offer is made in the form of solution. How do we make an offer? I don't tell them I'm going to give you 150 grand, because if they wanted 200 grand, that offer sucks for them. So it's not about the 150 grand. What it's about is what can that 150 grand solve for them? Remember the motivation, their need. That's what it solves. So, hey, look, I'm going to be able to take care of this, 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 and this, which were everything that you wanted, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, that's going to be amazing. Yeah. But here's the kicker. I can even put, while taking care of all that, 20 grand in your pocket right now. It's the same offer delivered differently. Why does this matter? Because for them, in their head, to walk away with 20 grand, they're probably thinking they need 200 grand. Because shoot, I don't know, closing costs and all this, I don't know, that could be like 40 grand alone. That's how sellers think. Everything is exaggerated. So I don't want them thinking. I'm here to do that for them. That's why they called me, right? That's why I called them. That's why we're talking. I'm the expert here, not them. So I'm telling them, I'm going to solve all these problems that you told me, and I'm putting this much money in your pocket. That's it. That's how an offer is presented. If you lose the deal at the offer, it's because you didn't do the first steps well. You didn't connect with them and you didn't establish motivation because you weren't able to sell the solution effectively. It's never the offer. I never lose a deal at the offer. The offer is the easiest part. Guys, I was one of the dumbest people, pretty much I am still, with contracts. I hate them. I hate contracts. In Texas, we use the Trek, which is, I think, like 12 pages at this point. That's the standard basic contract to contract houses. Yeah, it's a lot of pages. I didn't know how to fill that out. Most of my contracts at the beginning, you can ask anybody that worked with me. You can ask anybody, even title, because at first I did it with title. I will have all the contracts initials and signed, and the contracts were blank because I didn't know how to fill them out. I just take them and I'm like, well, here's the terms that we agreed to. They're like, but you got to put that in the contract. I'm like, I don't know where it goes. Why would a seller sign a blank contract? Because they trusted me, they liked me, and I sold the solution. So simple. I never took advantage of anybody. Like once the contract was filled out properly, I sent them a copy and they saw, right? But I didn't know how to fill it out. It just doesn't matter. And so many of you like drag your feet because of the contract. You're so scared of the contract. It doesn't matter. And neither does the offer if you did the first steps correctly. And we don't leave without a contract. If I leave without a contract, it's because it's not a deal. Now I got to go back and refine my process of where did I miss this not being a deal? Okay. Now, when you understand the seller's need, the deal will follow. The only time the deal doesn't follow is when you do not understand what the seller really needs. Now, pillar number 8, this is the other one. So these kind of go together, right? Is the riches are in the niches. Now, for those of you that get triggered by that, because I've been corrected before, it's like, it's not pronounced niches, they're pronounced niche. I get it. It just doesn't sound better that way. It sounds the riches in the niches, right? So I want you to, this is a little bit just more marketing on that, but I want you to know that. I hired a coach because I didn't know what I didn't know. I was struggling. We were hurting. We were pretty much close to broke. And the reason I hired a coach was because he was able to show me what was possible and it never occurred to me before, which is what I'm hoping I'm doing here with you. I'm showing you what is possible. So your expectations go up tremendously. I just spoke to a guy on Instagram, actually, that he's telling me he's doing deals in San Francisco and his goal is to break 120 grand a quarter. I was like, in San Francisco, you should be doing that on a monthly basis with just one deal at a time. Like you are definitely scraping the bottom of the barrel. You understand? Like you need to know that it's possible to do more. Once I've learned that how possible it was to close these $40,000, $50,000 deals in San Antonio, I don't know how not to do that anymore. I will not settle for anything less because now I know what's possible. So that's what hiring a coach did for me. It showed me what was possible. So you don't have to hire a coach, but go in your area and see what's possible so you can raise your standards. Now, with the right motivation, profits are limitless. And I'm not kidding about that. With the right motivation, we had people tell me, like we bought a house from 2 heirs, 500 apiece, and they signed over their interest to us. It was a messy situation, right? We didn't know if we were going to make money or not. We did. We ended up making like probably 80 grand and it cost us $1,000 plus some closing costs to acquire the property. That's it. But the motivations were huge. They did not want to deal with it. You got to know your market. I covered this in the last training. You have to know your market to understand what the motivators are. In Texas, we can do pre-foreclosures. In Florida, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, any judicial state, foreclosures kind of suck. You can do them. They just don't have the pressure that we have in Texas. So it's quality over quantity. One thing you will never hear me talk about is I close 10, 15 deals a month. It means absolutely nothing to me. What matters to me is how much money are you making? I can make more per month on 3 deals than most people can on 10. I'd rather run that business over a volume business. A volume business, I'm not saying there's anything wrong other than I would hate to run it because the overhead, the management, everything is a nightmare to run on a business like that for me. I don't have the patience. But to run the business I run, I make $2 million a year on 16 deals. It's a much better business to run for me. Make your decision. Solve bigger issues, earn bigger returns. Now, here's what I want to emphasize with this right here. You solving bigger problems does not mean these problems are bigger to you. To us, the problems that we solve are very simple. But to the person we're helping solve them, they're very complicated problems. They do not know how to begin to solve this. They got airship issues. They got family members that are missing. They got a bunch of nightmares to deal with. To us, just another day. Simple. But to them is a massive problem. That reframe is important, okay? I want you to keep that in mind. It's about solving bigger problems, not necessarily that they're bigger problems for you. So here's a framework. The niche checklist. They need to sell. So they're losing their home, the house is vacant, or financial distress. They need to sell. So let's say you have an absentee list. It's not enough. There's not enough motivation on that list. And the list is going to be tremendous. What do we talk about niche? Is small list, tight list. I do these deals. Last month, we did 3 contracts in January for the pre-foreclosure market on 58 leads. 3 contracts on 58 leads. I don't need hundreds. I just need a very targeted. And these are the criteria. They're losing their home, pre-foreclosure, vacant, they're probates. If you're in Florida, places like that, probates, water shutoff, tax delinquents, but that they're getting foreclosed on. All of those are the ones that we look for. Next thing is deadlines. We want to make sure there are deadlines with these properties. So in Texas, we have a foreclosure deadline, first Tuesday of every month. First Tuesday of every month, every house that's set to be auctioned off gets auctioned off that day. If it doesn't get solved before, there's a deadline. Creates urgency. All right. Probate. If you have probate that's vacant, there's a deadline that's not very visible, but it's that house deteriorates. People can break into it. There's pressure there. All right. So we need a deadline. And tax sales, same thing. We don't look for somebody that's just behind on taxes. We look for somebody that's behind on taxes and the county has served them that they're going to foreclose. So these are the criteria that we look for when we're creating these niche lists. And the last one is you combine them. So you combine, stack, you've heard them in many different ways, multiple pain points. So a good example of multiple pain points is the probates. Probate on their own may not be enough. A probate that's vacant, that's better. Somebody passed away. They started the probate process. So if somebody's starting the probate process, they're having some intent to sell or do something with the property, and the house is vacant. That I start getting excited with that, right? Now, if it's a probate, it's vacant, and it's tax delinquent. Now they're not even paying taxes on this house. All right. What other pain points can you do? And I get it. You're going to say, but damn, man, like if I do that, I'm going to get a list of 10. Yeah. Now it gets exciting. The coach that we hired, he calls this spearfishing. Instead of casting a net, which is what most people do, we get in that water and we're looking for that big fish. Because with 10 properties, I can call them, I can mail them, I can door knock them. When I mail them, I can mail them a package versus a letter. My marketing expense is much less, but it's very, very targeted because all I need is one. One of those properties shakes out and it's going to be a hell of a deal for me. So you stack lists, right? So depending on the list, I like starting with absentees. I'll start with an absentee list. Then I'll stack tax delinquent on top of that. Then I'll stack, let's say that's been owned for 15 years or more, because then you have potential equity in those. Right. And then, see if you can get an eviction list. Has that property hit an eviction list multiple times? See if you can get a code violations list. The code violation list on its own sucks But when it's stacked with something else, it's showing different levels of distress. Again, the list is going to go from thousands to maybe a few hundred, if that. That's what we want. Quality over quantity. All right. I've said this before, quality over quantity. Find bigger problems to solve. Everybody shies away from the problems. I don't know how to solve airship issues. Neither did I. Figured it out. How did I do this? Again, I hired a coach. He's the one that taught me on that. But I also partnered. If I know there's somebody in my market that is a killer at doing airship things, then when I get a deal that has airship issues, I'm going to call them up and be like, hey, I got a deal. Seems like it's in your ballpark. Can you handle it? And I just want to partner with you. Even if they tell me, sure, but I'm going to take 70%. Take whatever you want. I don't care. Because all I need to know is learn the process. Once I learn the process, I can replicate it over and over and over. So I'm essentially getting paid 30% to learn a strategy that's going to make me hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. It's worth it. But a lot of you guys are not willing to partner because you're like, oh, no, I'm not going to give up 70%. I'm so freaking cool. You're giving up a percentage of a deal you can't close. To me, it's worth it. With my coach, when we hired a coach, we were paying him for coaching and we paid him a percentage of the deal. And it was about that, 70%. And you're like, oh, man, you're paying. Yeah, I don't care. That strategy, you know how much money it's made us over the years? I don't care. All I need to partner is once, maybe twice, and I learn the strategy. Don't be afraid of the problems. Look for them. Solve them. This is why when people freak out with interest rates or months of inventory and all these things, like, oh my God, the market is slowing down. I get excited because while you guys are panicking, I make more money. I made a lot of money when San Antonio was at 2 months of inventory, and I'm making a lot of money now when San Antonio is at almost 7 months of inventory. It doesn't affect me. Market's going up, it's going down, it's going sideways. I don't care. I make money either way. And I covered this in the last training, right? Pillar number 1, which is know your market. All I need to know is understand my market, and I can make money in any market. I don't get emotional about the things I do for my market. So we put it all together. The riches are in the niches. Hide the stress. Focus on the stress. And focus. Follow one course until successful. One thing I do not do is foreclosures, probates, tax delinquent. I don't do that. I've mastered pre-foreclosures in San Antonio. You can throw any pre-foreclosure at me in whatever scenario, I can close it. That's all we do. All the money we make is our just pre-foreclosures in San Antonio. Not in Houston, Dallas, Austin, and San Antonio. Just San Antonio. That's all we do. I don't do anything else other than pre-foreclosures. The reason for this is it made me a much, much better investor. I learned everything about it. I learned how to buy partial interest. I learned how to negotiate deals. I learned how to find heirs, how to solve these big problems that other people can't solve, how to understand MERP liens and all these other liens that some people will get scared of. I know the ins and outs of foreclosures so freaking well that I can monetize on deals that most people can't. But when you're spread across absentees, foreclosures, probates, all this, which a lot of people do, you are so thin across everything that whenever a deal comes with a little complication, you don't know how to monetize on it. You don't know how to make the most out of it because you don't know enough about that list. So it's not enough. It's not about how many things you do and how far you go. It's how deep you can go and how much you can learn. What we know about foreclosures, I promise you, there are very few people in my market that understand anywhere near what we understand. And everybody in San Antonio, if you guys are there or ever been, they all say the same thing. John, foreclosure in San Antonio, that's insane. It's so highly competitive. Not for us, it isn't. Because we use Pillar 6 and Pillar 8 to do it this way. The way we speak to our sellers, nobody else does. Everybody uses the same scripts. We don't. Our scripts are very highly targeted, very specific, and we connect with people in ways other people can't connect. The amount of times I've gotten contracts where people tell me, you weren't the highest, but I feel like I can trust you. It's become like a joke of how many times that happens. So many people are calling me and I haven't given interest to any of them, but there's something about you. Of course, because I actually care. Everybody else is just chasing the money and you can tell. All right. So you wanna focus. I promise you. And we go back to the first thing I said at the beginning. This requires a lot of discipline because being able to focus on just one list and trusting that that's enough, man, I've seen it with my students. They freak the hell out because you misinterpret being busy with being productive. If I'm busy doing all these lists and all these styles of marketing, then I'll surely get something. Nope. I guarantee. Instead, if you're productive and you're getting better with a list, you start getting creative. How else can I target this? Man, I'm getting people, it's these calls aren't lasting. What else can I say? How can I get better? How can I get them to say yes faster? How can I get bigger contracts? You can think about other ways of making more money with the same list. But when you're spread across so many, it doesn't work. You're so busy that you don't allow yourself to strategize. And this is why most people suck as business owners, is because they don't strategize. And you have to be able to, and you can't when you're doing multiple lists at the same time. If you want to book a free strategy call with me and discuss strategies, your business, everything, scan this QR code. It's completely free. All right. And we'll dissect your whole business and all that, because I know I covered a lot and every market is different. So I'll be glad to hop on a call with any one of you and discuss exactly how your market goes, what strategies I would do if I were you, and all this. All right. So again, it's completely free. They do fill up kind of quickly. So if it does, just keep an eye out. Every so often I release more spots. It just depends on my availability, but just check that out. I love this quote. The men who have succeeded are men who have chosen one line and stuck to it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Pick one thing only, and stick to that one thing. That is the only thing that matters. When you do this, I promise you, you will become that person in your market that kills it. And do this in your own backyard. I don't care where your backyard is. I hear people all the time with the nonsense of like, oh no, my place is expensive. There's too much competition, blah, blah, blah. Every place in the United States that has houses and has people living there, you can make money in. Guaranteed. I have students across the whole country. Guaranteed you can make money there. Don't go virtual. That virtual nonsense, I promise you, it's a headache to do. And you don't have the control that you do. You will make a lot more money in your own backyard. And for those of you who want, this is my contact info. You can email me. Instagram is probably one of the best places that you can reach me. I'm also on YouTube and Facebook. But yeah, thank you all. That's pretty much it for me. So if you guys have any questions, just make sure to drop them. And like always, you can just reach out to me at any time. All right. I don't know if Steve's coming on or. All right, Sean Gavin. Do you wholesale land? No, I do not. I don't wholesale land. It's not something I care about. And like the last training I did was about markets. When you look at the San Antonio market, the demand for land is not really there. The buyers are very few, far between. It's a niche. It's a niche within a niche, right? So you got to make sure that you're like really understanding that particular area of your market. But yeah, as far as San Antonio goes, I don't care for land. I don't do mobile homes. I don't do multifamily. All I do is single family pre-foreclosures in San Antonio. I wholesale, I flip. I'm not acquiring any rentals at the moment because where the rents are and what the values are, I would have to leave probably roughly like 90 grand or more of equity in the deal just to be able to cash flow a decent amount. And I'd rather have the 90 grand at this point. So, I'm more focused on building my business than doing rentals. So I hope that helps, man. So yeah, I don't like land. I don't do land. Let's see. Ari, about wholesaling contracts, do I need a title company to assign a purchase and sell agreement, or can I handle directly with an assignment addendum? So it depends on where you are. You either going to need a title company or an attorney, but it needs to get done legally because the documents need to be filed. The assignment addendum, or usually it's an assignment agreement, that's just you get the property under contract and then you use this agreement with a buyer to establish your agreement with them that they're going to pay you X amount for your rights, your claims to that contract. All right. So you're going to take that, pretty much that contract, to title or to an attorney with the assignment agreement, and they're going to close the deal. They're going to do all the process, check title, make sure the property is clear, make sure everything is good to go. So you can go ahead and close on it. All right. So, but yeah, you let me know in the comments, like what state are you in? Because you either have, title companies, attorneys, or in some states you use both. Edison, high margin deals get done by emotional decisions. Amen, brother. Cody, should I figure out how much seller originally paid for the property and talk with the seller about it just to make sure I'm not overpriced in any case? Like, I go back to the same thing, man. If you're having a good conversation with the seller, you're going to learn all these things. And you're always going to get the bottom dollar that they're willing to walk away with. As far as finding out how much how much they owe on the property and all that, it depends on the situation. So like for pre-foreclosures, I do need to know that, right? Because they're getting foreclosed on, and I need to know if like they've made some bad decisions. This is why we stack our list. So our pre-foreclosures, here's our criteria for those, is we pull 12 years or older of a deed of trust. So the deed of trust needed to be filed 12 years ago or older. What this is going to do for us is going to put us in a good place of making sure the house has equity, right? Because 12 years ago, San Antonio was a whole different market. So by doing that, we are able to, target very specific properties that have a large potential of having equity. I have people sometimes bring me, oh, this property's in foreclosure, and they bought it like a year ago. I'm like, yeah, they owe everything on it. Like, if they're in foreclosure, the best bet is a short sale, right? Like they're probably over leveraged on the property. So if you add those parameters in place, chances are you're going to have enough equity to make a deal work. So, use that up, Cody, and let me know how it works. Noel, you mentioned the title company. I'm also looking for title comps that fast. Work with wholesaler and handle double closing. Do you have suggestions on that? One thing I tell people is when you're starting off, once you determine what kind of market you're in, your buyers, stuff like that, start reaching out to title companies that can handle creative deals. So because we'll do subject to owner finance, we'll use those strategies when they make sense. But I need to know that the title company or attorney I'm working with can handle that type of deal. There are title companies out there that you bring them a sub to, and I mean, I don't know. They act like you brought them an atomic bomb. They don't know what the hell to do with it. So you want to make sure that you're working with a title company or an attorney that understands investment deals, assignments of contracts. And I like to do this before I start really like contracting deals. So I'm not having to move them from title to title. Another technique is one of the first strategies I teach you in Pillar 2 is building your buyers list. I like asking my buyers what title company they like working with. Because when you find the right buyers, usually they already have all their information at the title company they like to work with. And if they're used to buying from wholesalers, then they're used to using their title company, and that title company is used to working with wholesalers. So I get their recommendations, right? This is not something that you got to go to Google for. You want to talk to investors in your area doing deals that you want to do for those things. And as far as double closings, one of the things I recommend is ask to see if the title company is willing to do dry closings, where they can pretty much a double close, for those of you that don't know, is you agree with the seller on a price, then you agree with the buyer on a price, but then you close with the seller first and then you close with the buyer. So usually we do this on big deals, right? Because a buyer that's hoping to make 20, 30 grand on a flip doesn't take too kindly to me making 100 on the wholesale, right? So we'll double close, neither of them see how much I make. Now, what you can do with title companies is if they do them, they will close the buyer first, take those funds, close your side with the seller, and then cut a check for the difference for you. So you don't have to use transactional funds or private money. So we do this in San Antonio. I also have a partner that I'm working with in St. Louis, and they do this as well in St. Louis. So you just got to look around for who's comfortable with doing those types of strategies. Phillips, how much do you charge as being one-on-one coach? Well, one-on-one coach, actually, for me, it's closed at the moment. I only take on a certain amount of students because I still run my business. I do run a mastermind. If you're interested, you can book a strategy call with me and we can see if you're fit. I take on people based on interviews. If I don't feel like you're there, if you're ready, or if you can get it done or have the means, I'm not one of those coaches that's like, yeah, sure, put 7 credit cards on this and we got you. No, if you can't afford this, I don't want you in it. You have other strategies. I have a ton of other content that you can look at. You may not be ready for it. So I like having these conversations with people just to make sure that you even qualify for it. All right. Because I don't want you stressing out about money while you're in there. So if you're interested, like I said, just hit me up on Instagram, or if you scan the barcode before, just set up a strategy call with me and we'll figure out what makes the most sense. Nash, as an investor, what do you want to see most in wholesale deals? What first factor? This is just funny, Nash. In San Antonio, when I give talks and stuff like that, I tell wholesalers, if I'm on your buyers list, you have a bad buyers list, because I do not pay premium. Remember what I told you, how much I make on my deals. I am not going to take a deal for anything less than that. It doesn't make sense. So if I want to make 70 grand minimum on a flip, but there are buyers out there that want to make 20 grand, that's a $50,000 spread. You should not be trying to wholesale that deal to me. You should be looking for those buyers. But what do I look for? All I ask is for the address, pictures, and I run my own numbers. I don't want ARVs or repairs. I don't need your opinion. It doesn't mean anything to me. I run my own numbers. I want access to the house. And when we sign the assignment, I want to see the contract, because you're assigning me the contract. I want to make sure that you filled it out properly, because it's been, 7 out of 10 times. Most wholesalers don't know how to fill out a contract. So I want a ton of pictures so I don't have to waste my time. When you say, and I don't want videos. Oh my God, don't send me video walkthroughs. They trigger me, because you're walking through, the light's not adjusting. I can't see the details, and you're just walking through. Oh, here's a bathroom. Oh, here's the kitchen. It's like, all right, dude, I just threw up, right? Pictures. I prefer pictures. Send me 100 pictures. I don't care. Send me a ton of them. I'll blow through them very quickly, but when I need to, I can zoom in, I can focus. So I want very detailed pictures of all the major components under all the sinks, because if the sink bases are rotted, I got to replace the whole thing. All the major components, air conditioning, everything like that. The exterior unit of the AC, the condenser where the hoses come out, there's a plaque that shows how old the unit is. Send me a picture of that, because then I can determine how old the unit is. The roof, the yard, everything. The more pictures you send me, the better educated I will be on the decision I make, and I can tell you right off the bat if I'm going to move forward with it or not. All right. So I hope that helps. Logan, talking about the niche, are you finding more success with the red tag eviction or pre-foreclosure list? What's going rate for these lists? So I don't look for red tags. Evictions has just been a different process. Remember, like I said, I pick one and I focus. Pre-foreclosure has been the best one, because in Texas, I can go to the county website and I can see when it's initially filed. So for us, is first to lead matters, right? So as soon as it's filed that day, it's filed, I'm skip tracing and calling it that moment, right? So I can be more aggressive. I can be more assertive on the lead than any other state. Most other states, they like kind of provide a list that comes out public at certain points. So then everybody gets access to it. This one in San Antonio, if you're not doing what I'm doing, you're not finding the lead I'm speaking to quick enough, right? So that's what I like to do. That's why I picked the pre-foreclosure list. But like I said before, it's very specific to the market that you're in, right? Not all markets do foreclosures make sense in. So you got to see what it is. And it might be eviction, it might be a stack list. So Jay, thank you, man. And about your accent, I think it's from Pine Trees Beach Town, Argentina. Yeah, I'm from Mendoza, Argentina, where Malbecs are. So even I went back to visit Mendoza, and people from there were like, "Where are you from?" I was like, I don't even bother answering that question anymore. Nathan, appreciate you, brother. Thanks, Edison. Emily, can you share the link for booking? The QR code didn't work. Yeah, it's just joinpwm.com. Or like I said, message me on Instagram, email me, and I'll send you the link. We can book a session whenever you want. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Show the strategy call QR code again. Sorry, Dre. If you missed it, you missed it. How do I get a pre-foreclosure list? Like I said, I go straight to the county in Bexar County. You got to figure out where you are in your area. There's sometimes you got to go to attorney websites. They'll post them there. Sometimes newspaper websites. But the closest that you can get to the original posting of it, if it's county, whatever it is, the closest you can get to that, it's going to be the fastest that you're going to be able to get to that information. All right. Let's see. I buy properties at foreclosure auction each month, but prefer not to do the large flips. I don't have a buyer's list, so I often sell to New Western. Ooh, can I send deals to you to market for a fee? No. It's not worth it for me. I don't partner with people on those things because again, I don't know what you're negotiating. I don't know what you're contracting. I like having control of the deal. I like big deals. I like a simple business. So sorry, man. Like I don't do it. I can see why you want to get away from New Western. I'll help you in figuring that out, or just find somebody else that does dispo. But dispo honestly is the easiest thing. But I won't burn my buyers out on something that's not going to make me a lot of money. It doesn't make sense for my business. If QR code isn't working to book strategy call, use. Okay, there you go. Thanks, Dre. Wouldn't pre-foreclosure cheaper to acquire because they need more work and have lower asking price? I mean, I don't know what you're asking exactly, because when we deal with pre-foreclosures, we're dealing with the seller, what they owe, and those things. So it doesn't mean necessarily a cheaper price, and it doesn't mean more work. I bought beautiful homes. We just finished a flip in a house in New Braunfels that we put all of like 10 grand into, and that house was beautiful condition, came with a lot of features, a lot of things. So we don't necessarily go for ugly houses. Isn't it harder to close if you're a newbie? Yeah, I mean, it could get harder to close if you're new. I'll be honest, I don't know, like partner. If you can't afford to hire a coach or somebody that can help you, partner. Find people that are doing deals in your area and be like, hey, if I find a motivated seller, all this, can you help me close the deal? Yeah, they're all going to say yes. They're going to charge you a percentage, right? Which I'm glad to do. And it's going to teach me how to do it. You understand? This is why I teach people to build your buyers list first, because your buyers will help you every day of the week as long as they get the deal. They'll go with you to the house. They'll analyze it for you. They'll tell you where they need to be at. You can use those to kind of reverse wholesale it, but it's really not that difficult, if you have the proper help. So I hope I got everybody. If I didn't get everybody, REIQ is great at providing me all the questions. So I will record a video and send it out to you guys. What's up, Steve?
Thank you, John. Appreciate you sharing and dropping knowledge.
Appreciate it, man. Love doing it.
Yeah, look forward to us talking soon. And we'll have John back if you have additional questions or topics you want to learn more from John. Make sure you send us an email. And obviously, if you have registered for this webinar, you're going to get access to the link of this recording when this event is done. So really appreciate everybody here, and have a great rest of the day. Have a good Thursday.
Thank you.
Let's get more deals.
Thank you. Yep.
Appreciate y'all.